What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the NBA Slate Starter Podcast. I'm Eric, joined with my buddy Ryan as we break down Wednesday's 10-game NBA DFS slate. Monday, so if we're looking back one day here, we're getting to this a little bit in the afternoon here on Tuesday. Campazzo just got done salvaging his first half, so that's where we are with this slate. But yesterday was an awfully fun day for both of us over on FanDuel. A little bit of sweat action. You kind of came from the middle of nowhere with Hassan Whiteside, who still is crushing my soul, but profit is profit. I'm not going to complain. Rinpack, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Monday night was a good night. Unfortunately, it was one of those second place finishes that felt like you were the first to lose.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That is, are you okay? Are you going to be all right?
Yeah, I'll take it. But you know how those top heavy tournaments go. Once you get so close, you taste it. You were there. I was there. Pretty much until like 3 seconds to go. It's been kind of the story of this NBA DFS season. Second place is, I'll take it. But you want first whenever you're out there. So.
This is like the PGA Tour. Second place is still pretty darn good. You're going to be all right. But dude, yeah, no, another great night by you, another great lineup. Yeah, I'm kind of tilted a little bit too. I know that feeling. I ended up getting fourth in the $44, what was that, 2 weeks ago or whatever. But first place was $100K and mine was $4K. And it was like 4% of first, which is just like one of the worst payout structures ever. But I'm going right back to the well on this 10-gamer because that $44 over there looks awfully nice. A little bit better pay structure for FanDuel tomorrow. So thanks for that, guys. 2 weeks too late, but here we are. Excited to get going. You ready to get partying?
Yeah, let's do it. Nikola Jokic has a 40-point first half, so we'll see if he's in the optimal lineup going down the line.
That first quarter, I mean, that guy is so special right now. How is he not the MVP favorite? I mean, I get LeBron James's. He has an opportunity to kind of put a case down here, but like Jokic is definitely the clear-cut guy for me, but the odds say otherwise.
We'll see. Joel Embiid also needs all the consideration as well. And if Utah keeps it up, I mean, one of those guys over there should get consideration, but their team as a whole has been playing so well. Maybe it's Quinn Snyder's Coach of the Year to lose.
Yeah. Well, before we get going, get down to that bottom bar, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all the other content at Awesemo goes live. 10-gamer, we got a lot to get to. I think we're going to be talking fast. Luckily, you got me riding shotgun, so let's party. Sitting on the top end, point guard, Steph Curry's up to 10-5. He completely has these massive scoring output games, just keeps putting up numbers. Would be nice to see a couple extra counting stats. I mean, only 6 assists, 2 rebounds in the last game, but 50.5 in 30 minutes in a Cleveland blowout, you're not gonna bat your eye at that. 7 for 11 from 3. God, that guy, he just does it every single time out right now. Damian Lillard, 10,300 in a New Orleans matchup. We'll be running back off of today. We'll see how he performs. That'll be kind of indicative of where his ownership goes, but definitely a price bump there. 10,300 up from the 9,600 that he was at today. I have a lot of him. Please, God, go off. Russell Westbrook, $10,000 up against Denver. Now we've got, he's played the back-to-backs. He looked just fine. Starting to play a little bit more assertive. It's been fun to watch, but now from 8,400 to 10K in 3 games. So a lot of decisions to be made here at the top end on such a big game. So many studs are going to be on every one of these positions, but let's get it kicked off with point guard.
Yeah, you mentioned Curry and Westbrook. Obviously, you're going to have to project them as one of probably the highest scoring guards of the day. Curry Westbrook is someone who looked great last time out. And I think it was someone we need to definitely consider that. I think his lingering injuries pretty much done. I think he's playing really well last couple times out. Steph Curry is obviously slowly just putting an awesome year, averaging north of 30 points on the year. I like Curry quite a bit just because we know what that upside can be. I think going to Curry is someone we should definitely be considering. I know people might be scared of a Miami matchup, but I think Seth Curry's earned the matchup proof right for sure. Other point guards to definitely keep in mind of tomorrow. Ja Morant, someone against OKC. They're both going to be on a back-to-back. So I like going to Ja Morant. I'm just hoping for his showing us some Rookie of the Year stuff. Morant yet again. It's been some time, but I think it's going to come there. And I think targeting Chicago with Delon Wright on both sides seems like a option to definitely consider over there. And keep in mind, no more Blake Griffin in that starting lineup. It's not like he was taking up a ton of usage, but it's just one less body to worry about in the Detroit rotation. I think Delon Wright could definitely spike an upside against Chicago. Talk to me about TJ McConnell, someone who's been so consistent. And now he's taking on Minnesota. McConnell cracked the starting lineup last time with no McDermott. How do you feel about McConnell? Is this for real?
The first time I've ever owned a share of TJ McConnell in the middle of this run was last game. He ended up getting plugged in the starting lineup, which sometimes you can overreact to whatever. Like, I thought maybe it was just a little bit of a minutes bump, but he's just been good. And 8 for 9 though last game. I mean, come on, the dude just keeps like putting up these random outlier stats. It was 12 assists the game previous. This last game out, 8 for 9, 1 for 1 from 3, but 39.25, 37. We've seen him, and even when he was in Philadelphia, put up a random triple double. He's done some things in the past. Just, we have that. You and I have like those 5 years of past experience of playing TJ McConnell at like 3K. It's very, very strange to see 5,600 next to his name and to even be considering him. But with Doug McDermott questionable and probably, I would say, leaning towards doubtful, I would have some interest. It's so dumb because I haven't been playing him on this rise up. So, but 5,600, sure, have a couple of shares. But again, this is a 10 game slate, so like wanting to play him, what's the upside? Like, he has to go for more than 40. We saw such a massive scoring slate yesterday. Not that, every slate's different and it matters more how the chalk does, but like TJ McConnell might be low owned in terms of like what we would expect. But yeah, definitely an all right spot. You got to have interest up against Minnesota if you're going to have interest against anybody. So sure. That was as much time as I've ever imagined devoting to TJ McConnell. Going down a little bit further, Patrick Beverley. We saw him play 20 minutes the last time out. We got news that Paul George is going to be out again. Kawhi Leonard's going to be questionable. We'll have to see how some of these Clippers injuries end up shaking out. That is going to be the very last game. There's two 10 p.m. Eastern time, lock time, 7 p.m. out here on the West Coast. So looking at that Clippers news, Lou Williams is up to 6,900 on DraftKings. That's less intriguing to me. Yeah, Paul George out. Kawhi Leonard questionable at 9,900. Marcus, we'll get to those positions a little bit later, but Patrick Beverley, 4,400. I would assume he'd be able to play more than the 20 minutes that he had before, so 25 minutes of him might throw a little bit of a wrench into some of that other Clippers value, but I know on FanDuel he's somebody that can randomly spark a stocks upside, so maybe taking some shots on him at possible low ownership. Maybe it might be a little too high should all those guys end up sitting out. What do you think about him, and let's move on.
Yeah, I think he deserves some consideration as a spend down option. It's a huge slate. Ownership obviously is going to be spread around. I think we need to talk about before we hop on over to the other position. Ben Simmons' career game last time out. I think it's perfectly time to hop off of him potentially. With Embiid coming back, I think Simmons is someone garnering a lot of ownership. I think pivoting to guys like a Trae Young. Or a Dame Lillard make a lot more sense than riding back on Simmons at that elevated price tag at $9,600 on FanDuel. But let's go hop on over to the shooting guard position.
The YouTube comments have been awfully quiet lately. Maybe that's because you are taking stands against people. Maybe that's because you're just good at DFS and they can't really say anything because you keep getting second places. So maybe it's a little bit of both. Let's get on over to shooting guard. A little less clout chasing on my part. I'm going to stay on DraftKings here. Bradley Beal, 9,800 up against Denver. Him and Westbrook, 10K and 9,800. That's going to be big prices to pay against this depleted Denver team that is in the middle of the chalk bomb that they had in the first quarter. People are starting to come back a little bit. I just closed out of it because I can't look anymore. We'll see how Green ends up doing for the world. But Bradley Beal, 9,800 against Denver. Why not? He continues to do it. 9,400 Zach LaVine with massive shooting output. 25, 21, 25, 26 shot attempts the last four. Awfully fun to be seeing from him, but still need to get that double-double bonus. He's had back-to-back 9 rebound games. I like seeing the rebounds up there. That's not something I'd necessarily expect out of him, but if you can get to that double-double bonus, definitely 50-plus upside for him at shooting guard at the top end. Making our way down, we'll skip over George, over Shai. Donovan Mitchell, 8,300, played not very well last time out, at least from a fantasy standpoint for what we were expecting at 8K. Now he goes up $300. Jordan Clarkson, who we're going to get to at the a little bit further down, who just went nuclear the other night, he's at 6,500 on DraftKings. Do you have any interest in a bounce back spot for Donovan Mitchell? We'll work our way down.
Donovan Mitchell, someone always has a ceiling to him. I was disappointed by his performance last night. I was pretty high on him. He had a very nice super draft multiplier. He didn't pan out on those lineups, but I think going to Mitchell in this spot is an okay option to consider. I think there's a guard that we forgot to mention in Orlando. Jason Randle is their point guard over there, and he's the min 3K. And
What? Okay, yeah,
Orlando,
no, that's actually a good catch. Oh God, I can't believe that's real life though. Continue.
yeah, that's 3K. I wanted to make sure to get that in there. They signed him to a two-way contract, so keep that in mind. Obviously, Fournier, Aminu, and Ennis are all questionable over there. Just keep in mind of the Orlando Magic guard situation. I think he could potentially be an option as a value option to definitely consider. I think a shooting guard over there on FanDuel, obviously Beal, Levine. I think Levine, $9,500 has been okay. We haven't seen like that north of 60-point upside from Levine in a while. And a big slate like this, we saw how high the scoring can get on the Monday night. Not saying that I'm going to expect that quite a bit because it seemed like even the low on value guy, like super cheap value guys went for 50 the other night. But I think going to guys in the mid tier, I expect Oladipo to return $7,400. I think he's someone that we could consider. Sorry, he's been a real doubtful as of recently. So Houston might have some other value options that open up. How do you feel about some mid-tier options in like a Tyler Hero? I know you said Clarkson, $5,900. I think I prefer Terrence Ross instead. I think Ross is I think you'll get an ownership discount on him for sure. How do you feel about a 5K Jeremy Lamb? I know he's not in the starting lineup, but played 25 minutes, and I like targeting guys versus Minnesota. And I think you need to consider talking about your boy Eric Bledsoe.
Oh God, do I have to? I'm sick. I'm nobody's gonna listen to this show anymore if I keep recommending Eric Bledsoe. Again, somebody to just take some random shots on as you're going back and forth. 5,300 though over on DraftKings. Like, I don't know. He just keeps 1 for 9 from 3 last game. Like, come on, bro, be better. But yeah, I wouldn't mind some shots like Tyler Hero. Sure. I don't expect 41 minutes, which is what he had up against the Clippers the other night. Gabe Vincent was back, but didn't really do much. There's just no resistance for a lot of those guys. I mean, Tyler Hero is the clear-cut guy that they want to give the minutes to. He's playing well. Dragic is going to be questionable again. So if Dragic is out, sure, take some shots on it. But he's still got an extended amount of run, 11 for 20 from the field. Yeah, right. It's just not super, super intriguing on this slate where I think it's going to be setting up to go a little Starsy and Scrubsy. So sure, maybe also some shots on Jeremy Lamb. I thought he would play a little bit more. Even the 25 minutes that he put up in the last game was lower than I was expecting. But I suppose they're still being cautious with him coming off of all the injury history and all of the stuff with him. So maybe there isn't 30 minutes upside there, but sure, at under 5K, I'm still willing to find out a little bit. We got to talk about Denver. Campazzo is shooting guard eligible. We'll see how all these guys end up doing over on DraftKings today. But yeah, going back to the well there, RJ Hampton, 3,400, Campazzo, 3,500 with shooting guard eligibility. What do you think about running it right back with Denver in a Stars and Scrubsy build?
It's a back-to-back. If Monte Morris is out, obviously, that's a big difference if Monte Morris is out. I think he's going to be key injury news to keep in mind. Obviously, he was ruled out today. Maybe there's just precautionary and they chose not to play him. Maybe they'll play him tomorrow. But if he's out, I think we can go to Campazzo, Hampton. Maybe it's potential to go to Hampton tomorrow instead of Campazzo. If Campazzo is the one that really breaks the slate, I think we can go to Hampton. But that's something to keep in mind. Other shooting guard options to keep in mind, though. I think Seth Curry makes a very interesting pay down option. He's one of those guys who's just been shooting super efficiently all year long. You just want him to get a little bit more shot volume. It's tough to get that shot volume when you're kind of option number 4 on that offense, on that starting lineup with Harris, Simmons, and Embiid, and then him hanging out there around the 3-point line with Danny Green. You just want him to get some extra peripherals and some wide open threes to really knock down. I think some guys who could spike a GPP upside are Josh Jackson always deserves an honorable mention. He's getting in that Terrence Ross type of territory. Some guy who's really kind of inconsistent, but can get you that 40-point fantasy upside.
Josh Jackson always deserves an honorable mention. What a stupid sentence. So it's stupid because it's true, but not what I expected from a former highly touted first-round lottery pick, Josh Jackson. It's
disappointing to see his career. Yeah. It's been disappointing to see his career. So I was at a Michigan game when Michigan recruited both Devin Booker and Josh Jackson, and they were both attending the game together. and they weren't going to go there. John Beeline never took one and dones, but it's so crazy to see how like they were on the same team together and they just couldn't pan out. And Josh Jackson obviously had many off the court issues that derailed his career, but he's back in his hometown in Detroit, hopefully getting some footing on the right path.
Love it. Yeah, Juwan Howard, he'll accept one and dones. Pretty sure about that. So you're in good hands there. Guys, head on over to awesemo.com/joinNBA. Check out a couple of the packages we have going. We have so many guys. Sean's on, hitting it up today in the game plan video. Again, those things are just phenomenal. Get familiar with Fantasy Cruncher. Get familiar with Process. Get familiar with some of the best players in the world. We've got a stable full of them. You don't win the Kentucky Derby on donkeys. So we've got Renpack. We've got Alex Baker, Sean's on. Everybody. Everybody is so good at Awesemo. It's ridiculous. They've helped elevate my game. They can help elevate yours too. Come check out some of the best tools in the industry. I'm telling you, it's just ridiculous. By the way, I've gotten so much better at these reads. But anywho, I am just telling you, it's just what it is. We have the best tools in the industry. The Boom Bust tool, which was coming in clutch for me the last couple days, had a couple of nice looks at the top. I'm just, your nice little mid-stakes player over here. So whether you're one of the top players in the world like Renpack, Alex Baker, some of these guys, or whether you're me hitting up the middle stakes, trying to give yourself as many opportunities as you can to build that bankroll, come check out all the tools we have available at awesemo.com and stop guessing and start winning. Getting to the top end of small forward, Ben Simmons, 9,200. So Kawhi is sitting there questionable, 9,900 over on DraftKings. I'll go over to FanDuel. I want to spread out the love. So 9,800 Kawhi Leonard sitting there, game time decision. That is a massive piece of news to be sitting on because if he gives it a go, that kind of eradicates all this value, this Marcus Morris price that's just like, what is happening in the world today? Jimmy Butler, 9,400. Obviously, he was a big piece of this last slate, 62 fantasy points over on FanDuel. If you had him, you weren't disappointed against this Clippers team. I thought it was very interesting. Greg Ehrenberg, who I've really enjoyed doing shows with, super smart, super sharp. He was talking about how paying attention to the opposite side of the game makes a lot of sense. And so I ended up with a little bit more Jimmy Butler than I was expecting. Not unfortunately in any of my good lineups. By the way, Goran Dragic just got listed out for Wednesday as we are recording this second. So Jimmy Butler, 9,400. I have no issues with that. Going back to the Tyler Hero question, definitely going to have interest there. So fire up all of those guys. Making our way down, Jaylen Brown, 8,400. He's in action right now. Brandon Ingram up against Portland, who I'm always going to have interest in because, well, I'm me. So Brandon Ingram, 8,200. And Jeremy Grant, now you're getting him at a discount, 7,200. Blake Griffin out of town. We haven't seen a ceiling in the last three. He keeps burning everybody. Are we going back to the well on Jeremy Grant?
Jeremy Grant, oh man, he's been a renaissance. I mean, not a renaissance. He's always been a solid player in his time in the NBA, but head honcho now, no Blake Griffin. I think Jeremy Grant we're gonna see a Jeremy Grant price at above 9K. I feel like at some point this year. I think it's headed that way. He's making a case to get like one of those, be a scrub all-star. I don't know if the coaches will vote him just because how bad the Pistons have been, but I think he's been a very, very solid player in terms of just personal statistics all year long. Jeremy Grant, I think obviously in a big slate like this, I think should be definitely considered. I don't mind Jeremy Grant whatsoever. I think other options to consider, obviously, if Kawhi Leonard is in, I'll have interest. If he's not in, like you said, looking at the other side of things, I think one thing we forgot, a lot of people overlooked was without Kawhi and PG, that's a pretty weak Clippers defense. Those two guys are the anchors of the defense, and it's always important to keep in mind what the matchup is with injuries. I know that some people just get focused on the one side of things, but the other side is as important. And if Kawhi's in, I would like Kawhi. Jimmy Butler, if he's good to go, I think is someone we could definitely target as well. Other options over there on DraftKings, some spend down. I think David Nwaba might be popular again. The bigger slate, he went 7 of 10 from the field, had 11 rebounds. I don't expect him to shoot that efficiently again. Michael Carter-Williams has small forward eligibility. So Carter-Williams played 30 minutes last time. I think we could go to Carter-Williams at 4-9. New York is a tough matchup nowadays, so keep that in mind. And it's kind of, for a big slate like this, I don't really like many small forwards at their price. How about you? How do you feel about Jason Tatum versus Atlanta, Andrew Wiggins versus Miami, and Kelly Oubre? I think I'm going to prefer It's tough. Wiggins and Oubre are close for me. I think I'm going to potentially prefer Wiggins because I think he has a higher upside than Oubre. It's a tough Golden State small forward situation. I'll like Michael Porter quite a bit against Washington if this Denver team is still depleted.
I was just pulling up some of those performances here just so that I could read them off. First of all, because I was super curious, we're in the middle of that game. Michael Porter Jr. only at 15.9. Facundo Campazzo is at 23.2 on FanDuel. There are 3 minutes left in the third quarter, so pretty happy about my lock button today. That was such a weird thing to lock button somebody that you had no idea. Yeah, we'll see if that ends up working out. I've got a lot of other garbage, so maybe not so great. Jason Tatum sucks. No, he does not suck, but I'm just very, very upset. Nikola Jokic, 55. Michael Porter Jr. should be a part of your builds again. I was heavy on him today. Now he gets Washington. Like, if you're not going to play Michael Porter Jr. getting 30-plus minutes, I don't really know what to tell you. Jokic has been unbelievable. Jamal Murray has been unbelievable. No question about it. They're both playing phenomenal again tonight. Oh, John Morant, 15.9 as well. Man, this is just like a live sweat going on here, too. We're really right in the heart of it. But yeah, Michael Porter Jr., a lot of interest there. RJ Barrett, who I believe was in your second-place lineup, if I do recall correctly. Somebody who can get some random spike in minutes. Got up to 32 minutes again. 34.7 FanDuel points over there, 5,400. We know the Knicks rotation has opened up a little bit more since the addition of, not really Taj Gizman, Derrick Rose. So all these former Bulls that Tibbs just loves to give minutes to are all sitting right there too. But 5,400 is still a nice price tag I think you could get on top of. We'll see how some of these Oklahoma City guys end up shaking out as well. Justin Jackson, Kenrich Williams, sure. Not so much Juan Toscano-Anderson. Justin Holiday, 4,900. Finally back over to his appropriate small forward spot there. 41 minutes against Chicago in Doug McDermott's absence. I expect him to be very, very popular should McDermott sit again. He's questionable, so make sure you're paying attention to that news. Anybody else that you really want to hit up in this range? Because, again, it gets bleak a little bit. Danilo Gallinari, 4,600, who has randomly spiked an upside a little bit of lately. Back-to-back 26-minute performances, 30.4 and 25. Again, it's just a question of the shot fall, and he's starting to get back into form. 4,600. Do you have some interest there on FanDuel?
Yeah, I don't have interest in Danilo Gallinari. I know those minutes in the mid-20s can be nice, and he's one of those guys who can get hot and really get going. Another guy who should get a mention on FanDuel is makes me sick to my stomach. Danny Green is the min there. If he's going to play 30 minutes, Danny Green has potential to pick up a combination of 6 stocks and 6 threes and really pay off that price tag. I know it's an ugly thing to do, but it's a salary you have to roster to. That's why he's in consideration only on FanDuel for me right now. But it's an early look at things. It'll be interesting to see what that ownership comes in at for Danny Green.
Has there ever been a bigger outlier game than that 56 that he put up in 49 minutes of an overtime game against Miami at this point in time? Is there ever been a bigger definition of outlier?
I think Semi Oshale's, I don't know, 50 game.
Okay.
It's pretty ridiculous.
That was also a little personal too, because it's like you were looking for punts, and it's that one probably counts too. But yeah, that Danny Green coming off of mainly because he burned everybody super chalk and then came back and did whatever. So yeah, maybe some bad juju there, but yeah, 3,500, sure, fire it up. Why not? I'd rather do that than Josh Okogie. So Okogie. However you say it, Josh Okogie, the guy who has a 0.5 fantasy point per minute rate. Don't roster him. So getting to the top end of power forward, we'll stay over on FanDuel for you. Domantas Sabonis, 9,700 up against Minnesota. Cat's back, but Cat isn't very good at defense anyway. Played 43 minutes in this overtime game, 51.5 FanDuel points. You got to expect him to continue to take over some of this offense going forward. I don't really like the fact that the assist numbers have been coming down slowly over time. I want him to kind of assert himself a little bit more offensively. But yeah, 5 assists, I guess, last game, 7, 8. So it hasn't been as bad as what it seems. 4 blocks and a steal. We don't expect that, but 8 turnovers. Domantas Sabonis, get your shit together, buddy. Making our way down. Jason Tatum, 9,400. Yeah, against Atlanta, fine. But again, just hasn't been in great form of late, but that might lower the ownership. Bam Adebayo, your boy, 9,100. I think he's your boy now. He's officially your boy. So you've got some good juju going there, 9,100. And then a guy that I do want you to talk a little bit about, because I am very curious. I've had a tough time getting a read on him, but all he does is keep performing. Julius Randle, He's the one guy who seems to be getting big minutes still underneath with all these additions. He did have 33 and 32 minutes the last 2 games, which is why I was kind of off, sadly, because he went for 59.3 and 40 minutes against Atlanta. What do you think about Julius Randle and the rest of these power forwards up top?
Yeah, so I think Julius Randle is making a strong case for an all-star consideration this year. I think, not saying there's some narrative in there and maybe they're kind of force-feeding him the way to like back up some stats a little bit. That could be happening with Julius Randle, but I think Thibs, all he does is want to win. Randle at 9K seems like a nice solid savings off of Sabonis and Tatum over there on FanDuel. You save $700 off of Sabonis and you save $400 off the Tatum, but I do have those two guys project. I would have them projected a little bit higher than them. Sabonis is in a great spot, I think, against Minnesota. I love that he went to the line 14 times. And if he's aggressive like that against Minnesota front court, that really can't stop anyone. I'm going to like Sabonis quite a bit. Tatum had an interesting statement today. He's dealing with the COVID fog in the sense it's really messed up his breathing. So it's something to keep in mind of. I'm not sure if those minutes are limited. We'll see. He's up to 21 minutes, I think, right now in the game versus Denver, but she only got 2 for 8 from the field. So keep in mind, Tatum is dealing with some COVID complications even after his return. Something to definitely keep an eye on. Some spend down options on FanDuel. I think Daniel Tice, if he plays $4,900 versus Atlanta, could be considered. I like Mo Wagner again, $4,400. If he's going to play mid 20 minutes again, I know kind of saw the ceiling game from him. We saw this. We saw the Davis Bertans "I'm back, remember who I am" game last time out, $4,500 versus Denver. Hopefully he can keep it up. Over there on DK, Tatum 8,700 definitely stands out over there. Randall's priced up at $9,500. I think that's a tough asking price at $9,500. I think I would rather spend the extra $200 over there to go to Sabonis. Zion versus Portland, sign me up, $8,200. I know he's not someone who's gotten us over 50, but it's going to happen at $8,200. I think Portland cannot slow anyone down. This is a back-to-back for Portland. I like Zion's potential as well, as Zion's also on a back-to-back. So Jeremy Grant, sorry, Zion is not on the back-to-back. Oh, I'm not mistaken.
No.
Actually, no, they are. They're playing today.
You're correct.
So,
yeah, they have a game going right now. I know because I have a lot of him, and I would hope that game is going. But anyway, continue on.
Sorry.
It's all right. No, you threw me off with Davis Bertans because he only shot the ball 8 times. He was 6 for 8, so that's helpful. But yeah, somebody to maybe take some shots on. 31 minutes. That's exciting for a guy who's kind of. Scott Brooks said that he was trying to play Davis Bertans into shape, but the only way to do that in COVID season is to just like let him run on the floor. So nice to see the minutes get into 30s, but continue on.
I think Kelly Olynyk, he's been starting for the Heat now, playing against the Warriors. Olynyk is one of those guys. He's like the front court version of Terrence Ross. He's super inconsistent, can spike you an upside. I think taking some shots with Olynyk should be definitely considered. How else do you feel about the power forward options? How do you feel about John Collins versus Boston? Collins is someone who's playing low to mid 30 minutes. And I think Draymond Green, whenever he's on the slate, it's a talking point for us. So I think I'm going to let you handle the Draymond Green talk versus Miami.
Well, I didn't like Draymond Green until now. He's playing the 5 for this team, and coming off of him blasting everybody and everybody in the NBA agreeing with him, which I think he's got some valid points. I mean, some of these teams are just kind of taking advantage of some of these guys, and I'm definitely a player-centric guy. I'm never going to feel bad for ownership in an NBA situation where they already are getting the best of it in almost every situation. So maybe a little bit of a narrative streak there going for Draymond Green, voice of the people, 7,600. Fire up a little bit. I have been on him of late because he has been playing some of those minutes at the 5. 29 minutes against Cleveland, put a 50.6. I mean, he just has these crazy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 6 of his last 7 games, he's put up double-digit assists. That's an exciting thing on both sides. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, he's getting the rebound and carrying the ball up the court. Him and Steph Curry, obviously that duo, their chemistry they've had for almost nearing a decade now. Crazy how time flies, but they were special together on the court, and they just know how to get the ball in the basket when they're on the floor together. And he's doing this playing the 5. There's no Wiseman stealing any 5 minutes from him. It's kind of his show.
Sidebar, did you see the play where he passes it, like hands it off to Steph, and he sets the screen at the top of the key? I've never seen that before, like ever, from anybody. It was the most ridiculous thing ever. Did you see that?
I did. It's what playing together for 7, 8 years, going to the finals. What they went to the finals 4 times together, 5 times together now. So it's like an amazing duo. Draymond, I think, is underappreciated. I know he gets a bad knack for being whiny, but a tremendous player. Been very impressive. And I know people were like, he's saying he's washed, but I think silenced a lot of haters over the last 2 weeks.
Oh, easy. I didn't say watched. What I said is that he was not important compared to Wiseman. And I love him playing the 5 on this team, playing small ball, like in that death lineup back in the day for Golden State. Again, we're going on a 5-minute Golden State tangent, but I'm happy to, mainly because his role is just completely different on this team right now. They're giving him the opportunity to distribute. And if you look at any of his box scores from earlier games in the season, it was just kind of like some of these middling numbers. He got to 2 double-digit assist games in his first 20 whatever, and now he's got 6 in the last 7. He's distributing. He's playing great. So yeah, go ahead, Draymond Green. You have proven me wrong. I will play you a little bit at 7,600. I'm happy to do it. I'll go back to the well, and then on DraftKings, I would have no problem getting to him too, where you can get that double bonus. Also, everything below 5K is just garbage on DraftKings and FanDuel. Daniel Tice 4,900 shout out. If he ends up being active, I would have a little bit there because he wouldn't have played today. Anybody else you want to touch base on, or should we round this thing out?
I just want to say the 16-17 Warriors team is, in my basketball lifetime, which I consider post-2000 the best basketball team I've ever seen play.
Oh my, you just pissed this 33-year off. So you never saw Jordan. You just never saw Jordan.
No.
You didn't correctly see Jordan, and if you didn't see Jordan, you don't understand. Like 7-8-year-old me is very upset with you.
That's why I said post-2000.
Oh, I didn't hear the post 2000. Okay. Well, yeah. I'm also deaf, so that's fun. Going to the top of center, Joel Embiid, $10,700 over on FanDuel. I'll go back and forth a little bit. It's kind of nice because I keep it perfectly equal. 2 on DraftKings, 2 on FanDuel, center. $11,000, Nikola Jokic on DraftKings is just outrageous. I mean, this guy is just playing so good. And now he gets Washington. Good luck, Mo Wagner. Enjoy. Robin Lopez, best of luck, guys. Try to contain him. Those flat-footed dudes got no shot. And I know you love Mo Wagner, but he's so toast. Nikola Vucevic, 9,700, I believe, over on FanDuel. Yes, and 10,100 over on DraftKings. So that's going to be a fun spot with no Aaron Gordon, with no point guard other than Chesson Randle, who I believe is who you said is the guy that they just signed on a deal, right? Chesson Randle?
Chesson Randle,
haven't heard that name for a while. That's exciting. Nikola Vucevic, gonna be somebody to go back to. I know he burned a lot of people up against New York the other night, or was it Phoenix? Phoenix the other night. 28 minutes, 33.5 DraftKings points. I'm fine going back to the well against Randle, and no Mitchell Robinson down there in the middle to get in foul trouble and hack Vucevic. So that'll be neat. Sabonis sitting there at 9,700, 9,500 Randle on DraftKings, and on FanDuel we'll close it out with Karl Anthony Towns, 9,300 up against Indiana. I'm happy to continue to go to him so long as we see that he's not going to be rested on this back-to-back. What are you thinking about the top end of center?
We got Embiid versus Houston. We know what Embiid can do. He's going against a pretty much has torn every major ligament in his lower leg in DeMarcus Cousins. So I think Embiid should absolutely eat. I know he didn't play the last game. He is listed as probable, but keep in mind, Embiid is always one of those guys who is probably one of the highest candidate players to get scratched more than anyone else. I feel like 10-8 on DK, and he is 10-7 on FanDuel. Absolute great option. I do like saving the money and going to Jokic if this team's currently depleted. 11K on DK, you have to spend up over there, but Jokic can put up 80 points in this matchup versus Washington. I know he's already at 60 in 3 quarters, I believe, against Boston right now. I think Nikola Jokic is a fine option. Karl Towns 9-3 on both sites. There's going to be a game. Karl Towns shows his former self. He has no D'Angelo Russell for the next 6 weeks. He needs to carry the shoulder. He needs to show for the rest of the league that he's still a top 5 center in the league. I know he's missed some time. Hopefully, Karl Towns at 9-3. If we were to say Karl Towns 9-3 a year ago, we would be all over that. And I think we definitely should be considering Karl Towns quite a bit. I think in spending down options, I think it's time to hop off the DeMarcus Cousins experience over there. It's not been a fun ride with Boogie. The minutes are just not there. He's not playing 30 minutes, and 30 minutes, I want 30 minutes of Boogie. Now it's a tough matchup against Embiid. I think I'm willing to go to Rudy Gobert 7-3 over there in DK. I think I like that a lot better. I think considering Gobert is fine over there, especially on FanDuel 8K because of the blocks. We know what Gobert can do with blocks. And I think 7K Miles Turner definitely deserves a mention as well. Someone who is playing mid 30 minutes. I know he played mid 30 minutes in overtime, but only went 2 of 10 from the field. And he's one of the best shot blockers in the league and probably a defensive player of the year candidate the way things stand right now. And center's a loaded option. It's a huge slate. Never do I like to really pay down that often on center if there's any late news or anything. No one really stands out right now. Keep in mind with the Boston situation, it's a back-to-back. For any reason, if any reason Thompson and Tice were to rule out, I think we can go to a $3,600 Robert Williams. How do you feel about the mid-tier and lower price options? I know we see it, Steven Adams, Ivica Zubac, Thad Young in that range. How do you feel about that situation?
I mean, Zubac went it completely nuts and it didn't matter. I had so much of him on the late slate. I'm watching EMAC and Chris Baggs. By the way, definitely check out some of those late slate shows. They've been a lot of fun. Just kind of come hang out, tilt your lineups, sweat your lineups, throw in some late slate stuff with us. It's a nice hangout, so definitely check that out. I won't be on this week, but I'll be on a couple going here forward. But EMAC and Spags doing a great job here, and I believe it's Greg and well, nobody's going to hear this before this comes out, so that's a moot point. But regardless, sure, I'm happy to go back to Zubac. You know my love and affinity for such a man. I will go to him. You missed my favorite center play on the entire slate on DraftKings, though. Why play Boogie Cousins when you have the Lithuanian bookie in Jonas Valanciunas sitting there at 7,300? This guy is out of his gosh darn mind. That's really all I can say. He put up 45.75 last time out in 26 minutes against Sacramento, just imposing his will down low lately. Since he came back, what do you think his worst? So that's how many games in a row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 games. He hasn't had a single one under 36. So I'm pretty excited. I think the floor is just so elevated. For sure would be somebody that, looking at it from an early look perspective, I would have interest in being in cash. Just continues to get the minutes there. I know Brandon Clark is back, so maybe that's a little bit of the wrench that gets thrown into the middle of it. But how can you deny how good Jonas Valanciunas has been? I'll have to see, I guess, what the ownership is. So I'm guessing the head tilt was Brandon Clark being back and being like, yeah, I don't know if you can rely on that.
Yeah, no, I do think that could limit Valanciunas' upside. I think maybe we can save some money and go to Draymond for $500 cheaper. I think that's an option. Rudy Gobert is the same price. And these are just some pivots off of that. I think he's definitely firmly in play. I think we can definitely consider him. But we also have Eunice Canner, who's $1,200 cheaper than him on FanDuel. I think he's going to be low owned. I think he's a great low owned option. And by the way, did you see what he did to Tunise Metu? I think Metu broke his. You need to look at this highlight when Tunise Metu dunked on him and kind of just rode his back and Joval threw him to the ground. It's quite the scene there. I wouldn't want to mess with Joval. I wouldn't want to mess with Joval whatsoever.
No, you don't.
Low owned option.
You can just tell. You don't want to do that.
A low-end option for sure. We've seen Valanciunas put up north of 50 fantasy points throughout this season in his career. So as a low-end option, I do like Valanciunas.
Okay, so that's nice. Mason Plumlee is the last guy that I want to round out the position with. He's 7,300 and 7,200 over on DraftKings, which just sounds, yeah, no, you can shake your head. But he's put up 50 and 49. There is no longer Blake Griffin there. There is no resistance to him getting all the boards on planet Earth. I'm going to have interest there too. Mason Plumlee over 7K. Any interest?
So Plumlee is always someone who's been a phenomenal passer. I think people forget how good of a passer he was in his Portland days. He just didn't need to play much in Denver. I mean, imagine that practices with Plumlee and Jokic. But Plumlee is someone who can do a lot of things on the court. He's, I wouldn't say below average defender. He's not the greatest defender, but an exceptional passer and a terrible free throw shooter. But I like Plumlee in this Dallas matchup, but I think there are better options in the similar price range. I think Gobert's. I would rather pay up for Gobert. I'd rather find the extra $1,000 for a Bam Adebayo potentially versus Golden State. We've seen what the front court members can do to Golden State all year long, especially on DK. I think he falls in the Valanciunas boat in me in the sense. I think if he's low owned, we've seen this upside. Maybe the box score watchers go there, but I think it's a time to hop off potentially. It's tough for me to pay a $7K plus Mason Plumlee. I don't think his price tag has ever gotten this high in his career.
It definitely has not. I can promise you that. I'll go back through, but yeah, that's about all we got for you today. Any final words, Rinpack?
No. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I guess leave a comment with who is your favorite center play on the slate. FanDuel or DraftKings. Maybe Eric and I will come in there, share some of our thoughts. I think it's a loaded center position as we've gone through it. We got Embiid, Cat, Jokic, and some intriguing mid-tier options. I think will make for a fun, exciting comment thread we have over there on the channel. If you guys are listening on the Apple Podcast, please do subscribe and leave us a review. Those mean a ton to us as it's a new show. You guys have been, the support's been great. Now it's almost really nearing the midpoint of the season. Your support has been awesome. Thank you so much for being part of your daily process.
Yeah, I love my job. This is awfully fun. Rinpack, you're the man. Wednesday is in the books here. We will see you guys back here covering Thursday slate. Best of luck and see you then. Bye.